I knew that one day I would have to make this video. I just didn't think that this book would be the reason. Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Øystein and I'm trying to become a bookworm. And in this video I'm going to share my experiences with DNFing a book for the first time. And that book is Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. This video is going to be about DNFing itself and less about this book, obviously because I haven't read the book yet. A funny thing about this video is that my last video was about my reading goals for 2022 and how that was going. And this is of course one of the 5 big books I decided to read this year and that I really wanted to read, but that didn't go as planned. I think we can divide readers into 2 groups, the ones that finishes books and the ones that finishes books nearly always. I'm obviously in the first group. I struggle with not finishing books just because I'm afraid of missing out. And also before I was sort of afraid of spending time with books and not finishing them. It would just feel like a waste of time. That feeling I think I would have less and less the more I read, and at this time I do not regret spending time reading those pages I've read with this book, but when some time has passed we'll see if that feeling develops. I think I've said countless times on this channel that I don't feel that finishing books is a great thing, but nevertheless I struggle to get rid of that feeling of missing out. That's sort of why I'm making this video and thinking about the process, because this was really a thing that surprised me when I joined the booktube community, that people DNF books all the time and it doesn't matter. And I think the people that manages to DNF books have a happier reading life than I had. But this has all changed now. I think not DNFing books is a bad idea. You end up reading a lot of things you dislike, and it just kills my joy of reading in general and not the specific book. I have probably DNF'd books before, but not in this sense, because before I read 1 book a year maybe, and then I loved it and decided to read 1 more, but did not enjoy it, and then I stopped reading in general and not just stopped reading 1 book and then going over to the next one. So it's not the same thing, because I've already started with a new book and I'm enjoying that one, so that one I will stick with, I think. So you might say that this is the first time I've deliberately DNF'd a book. All this being said, it's still difficult. Even when I'm making this video, I'm just sitting here wondering what would have happened if I read it. Especially this book being part of my 5 big books for this year. I think I should just finish it, but I can't. And I'll tell you why. Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie is a major modern classic. It even won the Booker of the Bookers, sort of the best Booker Prize winner over the years. Also a lot of people I like loves this book, and I thought I had to get in on the action. Salim Sinai is born at the stroke of midnight on August 15th, 1947. The very moment of India's independence. Greeted by fireworks displays, cheering crowds and Prime Minister Nehru himself, Salim grows up to learn the ominous consequences of this coincidence. So what is actually this book about? I have no clue, because I really didn't get it. I decided to read this book in Norwegian because I feared the complex language, and thus reading it in Norwegian would be easier for me. And I was right, the language was complex, and so complex that I didn't understand anything at all, even though I read it in Norwegian. I read about 130 pages. It's about 730 pages in this edition, and I spent 5 days reading those 30 pages. All this time I thought, this book I will have to take some time reading so I can understand what's written and really indulge in the story. But for each chapter I read, I had to go to this website that explained what really did happen, or what maybe did happen in the book. And for each page I read, I got more and more frustrated. So when I'm talking about having problems reading this book, it's not about I can't understand why this book is so great. It's I can't understand what's happening at all. And when someone explained to me what had really happened, I couldn't understand how those things were connected at all. I even reread one of the chapters after I got it explained to me by the internet, and still I didn't understand how this was all connected. And at this point I have to ask you to please comment below if you've read this book and you sort of think that if you read 200 pages you will understand everything, because then I might want to read it after all. But for now I'll let it just hang out in my shelf for a long time. I should mention that several times during this read I thought that words were put together in a beautiful way and it sounded brilliant. I just didn't understand what it said. And this all left me feeling quite stupid. And for a long time I thought, is it just me? I sort of now think that it's just me. Because so many people have read this book and so many people love this book. Obviously, so many people think they understand what it says. I now sort of regret not reading it in English because then I could give all the blame to the English language instead of my own brain. But lesson learned, the next complex book will be read in English. It is a messy book and I got a lot out of the people writing about it on the internet, and I thought I'd share some of the quotes from the people helping me through the start of this book. And spoiler alert, this might contain spoilers from the first 100 pages, if that matters. So the weird thing about me and Abdullah is that he hums at an extremely high frequency. So high in fact that it causes men to get erections. We told you it was weird. And then we have, but then something magical happens. Ahmed Sinai, the guy who's been dating Aliyah, starts talking to Mumtaz. And soon enough they get married. Of course Aliyah doesn't think this is so magical and she starts to plot her revenge. So this is actually in a language I understand, and it was quite entertaining reading those comments instead of actually reading the book. Oftentimes, if I don't understand a chapter in a normal book, I can sort of go on the internet and get it all explained and then come back to the book and feel enlightened, and then I will have a happy reading experience again. But this time I didn't. This is just another blow for magical realism. I've talked about this somewhat before. I did not enjoy Gabriel Garcia Marquez's book, 100 Years of Solitude, and I blamed the genre, and this book didn't help the genre for me at least. I won't get rid of this book just yet. I think in some years I might try to read it again. It would be enormously interesting to try to read this in 10 years and see if my brain has suddenly developed the taste for the confusing. Maybe I have a lot of time to read, more time than now, and I can analyze word for word. That sounded painful. This feels like both a victory and a setback. A setback because the book was too difficult for me, and I feel like there are books out there that will be too confusing for me. I've thought about this before, but I've never experienced a book that I thought was too difficult to read. But this one surely was. But the victory is that I've DNF'd the book, and I've come to terms with DNFing books. Maybe it helped that it's so big. Maybe it would be more difficult to not finish a book if it was smaller. Who knows? But at least I'm a guy who DNFs books suddenly. And that feels weird and wonderful. So the big question for today is, have you ever DNF'd a book that you regret DNFing? Please comment below, because my expectations are that none of you have DNF'd books you regret DNFing. But that I will leave up to you, so please comment below if you have, or comment below if you have suggestions for other books by Salman Rushdie, for example, even though I will be very skeptical. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you have a great reading day, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!